when the pressure's on Gladiators, when it feels like, you know, the story's not going to happen, the crazy comeback towards the end is never going to be there. It feels like finally that Cinderella story won't be written. Something like this happens. We've seen it before on Sandhawk. I don't know what causes them to play like this sometimes, but they've certainly had their breakfast this morning, and they're coming out with some fibrous maneuvers, looking very solid in the moves they're making. 7 elims to the name blank. How much longevity have they got on this one? We'll keep our eyes on it because Gladiators need a good game, and the individuals are playing to prove that.
Yeah, they desperately do. Right now, facing off versus Duxan, not an easy team to go up against. MBE Sports, they lose Fistboy on a knock. That's to DX, who are doing a really good job over on this eastern side, just clearing their way through. Up to 3 eliminations now. Alter Ego also chiming in. Bit of a better rotate from them over towards this south side, able to take over that compound that Reject were holding on to. I think a lot of that comes off the back of the fact that Gladiator was able to get some really good pot shots between the windows, knock some of the players from Reject. Very much slow them down, bog them down. More nades sailing in from Gladiators, taking out the remainder now of Duxan. FaZe spots out some of the players from Gladiators, will take some pot shots towards them, over towards that western side. Chow gives his life for the rest of the team, but it's just Paragin now. With Lamborghini down, he is able to get in, but this is more of a survival game for them. Great circle here for the Gladiators. The last minute men, as usual, very much feels like back towards my university days, where the deadline's looming and then suddenly I'm in the library for 24 hours.
That's how it always goes with Gladiators, man. I sympathize them with a lot, Blank. I'm the same. Unless the deadline's there, it's not getting done. And that's the way they play. And honestly, it's working wonders for them right now. Again, you know, with every time we're looking over to them, they're starting to build up more elims. And like you're saying, zone-wise as well, they're in a good position to make a play off this. The one awkward encounter in the dead center as well is Reject Tokyo, now basically being the Reject duo, with all of FaZe in full force around them as well. So not really what you want to be. A bit of flat sharing going on, and that's illegal. It's called subletting, Blank. FaZe are going to clap back onto DX as well, finding a way to peek through the windows. An assault onto Paragin. That's an unlucky knock.
Yeah, I think right now, even though he's able to get Lamborghini up, it was kind of for nothing. This little high ground that Gladiators currently have control of was so fortuitous that they got the circle on this side. Coming off that high ground is very difficult, so they're trying to milk it for as much as they can here, stay on this top side. But it's MBE Sports coming in to try and challenge us for now. Gladiators need to be ready for this one. Kitsune luckily is in position as the DBS, only able to find one though, and that's not quite enough. The rest of the team instantly needs to improvise off the back of this. Sek and Mondo are down, so it's a decent start. The nades start pouring in, and it's a nice nade on the backside towards Fistboy. Just a Kaze left remaining, and Gladiators quickly clean them up there. Up to 12 eliminations now, Jackie. A fantastic start. Tixie's flying through the air. Matic is on the support.
Oh, mate. This is perfection put together so precisely from Gladiators right now. That was beautiful. The nade work to defend after the crash was on point, and then straight back into hungering for more elims. The peek down the hill, beautiful connection on the aim skill as well, and we get left with our final 4. A scrappy one at that as well, Blank. Alter Ego still alive. They were able to find what remained of Mad Bulls and shut them down, but they've now had the same done to them. Peek out from Sarah Biceps, and with a smooth right hook, he's wiped them off the face of the battleground. 3 squads remain.
Gladiators currently on the outside edge right now. It's FaZe with a very strong position. Alter Ego still need to work their way in as well, but they went out earlier on. Reject holding on. It's a good little game for them, but for the Gladiators, more points would be absolutely gorgeous for them here. If they could win out this game, they'll send themselves tumbling towards that top side of the lobby after just one match. So 20 points. Realistically, if they can get themselves 25 after this, they'll be very, very safe. It'll give them a buffer. They still will need to put in the work after the rest of the day, but they'll be in so much better stead. And taking that pressure off yourself this early on in the day is so, so nice.
Taking the pressure off themselves and applying it to Reject Tokyo. Problem is, though, it's not going to turn them into diamonds. It seems like they will instead just buckle under the pressure. Bit of a peek out here from FaZe, though, as Gladiators encroach further on the compound, closing in on them, using their utility to try and blow Lufa out of the equation. Nade after nade barreling through. Swing from FaZe on the stairway as well. And that connects. Meku left black and blue, down on his last legs now, as they first onto him. Gladiators with only a duo remaining, Blank.
I think regardless of what happens there, I think Gladiators are fairly pleased with this result, right? Meku was always left behind to try and help the rest of the team get further up. Now it's Matic in a 1v3 scenario. It's going to be very difficult for him to pull this type of thing off. Goes for the pre-fire as the circle starts to push all these players in. Has an idea of where they're swinging. This rock is really nice to play around, but on Zen, he's on the prowl, and it will be found by the rest of the team. Mormon finishes off Matic. Regardless, FaZe picks himself a nice win from a very easy rotate on that north side, but for Gladiators, that could have been a lot more for them. Either way, I think it was around about 15 eliminations they finished that game with the 6 points on top of it. 21 points is just a very, very nice start for them. And you know what? Jason might have been right to bring them up at the start of the day.
It's crazy, isn't it? You know, we sit there, Jason brings out all his storylines that you think are never going to happen. And I think we hit the mark for 3 out of 3 of Jason predictions all in one game. So he's doing well today, Blank. He's doing well. Oh, look at the dance.
He's happy. He's pleased with that one. I mean, starting off the day with a win here for Mela is really, really nice for him. He's got his hot water bottle in hand as well, mate.
Oh, yes.
Taking the heat to the next level.
This is why FaZe are winning.
Yeah,
they're bringing the heat in. They're warm. Exactly, Blank. That's madness. They got the moves inside and outside of the battleground, and they got the chicken dinner to boot as well. Can't turn your nose up at that one, but I think we do have to give a little bit of eyesight over towards Gladiators, looking at the stats in terms of what they got up to on that one as well.
Yeah.
That's a big game from them, right? They're actually fragging as well, Blank, which I think makes the world of difference in the sense of confidence. It's what we were talking about way back at the start of the game. At least now, having a high elim game, it should perk you up a little bit. You're not going to feel so somber throughout the rest of the day.
Yeah, I mean, the teamwork looked really, really good there from the Gladiators towards the end, and that's what you want to see overall. In the meantime, we're going to send you back over to the other team over on the desk.
The desk team, the best team here. Like FaZe could get their victory on the board here, starting things off strong for Group Red. But to be honest, there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of working parts in this one that allowed quite a few other teams to have some decent results. You know, Max, I know you didn't want to talk about him at the start of the day, but I'm going to make you talk about him now. No. It's G Gladiators.
Okay, you know what? They got himself some wins. I can give you that much, Jason. I think Kalaris was talking about that. The eliminations kind of got fed to them in weird ways, especially that fight versus Quest. Alter Ego changing their drop location to the Eastern Island, and Mad Bulls fighting Inko, which means that their rotation path here, Jason, is completely free. Even if you rotate late, you can make it through Trifecta. You can get access to Bootcamp Hill, and off the back of that, they can just start blasting at so many other teams like Duxan, Alter Ego, and get 15 eliminations on the board. They needed those points here because they were in a tough spot before here, and they already doubled their points. They had 20 points before this match, and now extra 21. That is massive for Gladiators.
That might be exactly what they need to get themselves in more of a safer position, considering this is their last day of play overall. But another team we have to dive into here is Reject in particular, because the position they had, we were watching a little bit of a disagreement between you and Max in terms of what Reject decided to do as his own tried to center up on FaZe.
So I think that they were trying to make the game-winning play, right? Like with some of their moves. They start in Trifecta, they had a 2-2, and they go to the compound, which in our region we see always as a focus point for some of these circles mid Sandhawk. Now, they realized Alter Ego's coming in behind them. They made a ridiculous blitz through. It was risky, but they actually got a lot of points from it, 8 points in total. That's by the by. Rejects here from this point on tries to leave this compound and go north towards FaZe. I think they already took one elimination off of FaZe, so they knew that they were weakened state, but it was very slow, very unsuccessful trying to breach the position of FaZe here. So I like that Rejects was trying a winning move, but it materialized. At least they got high up in this game, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that the situation they were in with Alter Ego playing the Road Trifecta compound is you want to work with Alter Ego and stay in that compound for as long as possible to gatekeep other potential threats later on down the line. If you stay there with Alter Ego, you eliminate Nigma Galaxy, Deke Xavier, Duxan. You can also maybe eliminate some players of Gladiators as they're getting pushed down Bootcamp Hill, and off the back of that, you can transition through the rocks, maybe make over to FaZe. I think that was the better approach. But to be honest, the moment Xavier died, right, Kalaris, they could play those rocks and survive super fine to the match. So it ended up working out, but I think there was maybe another option available. But that's the cool thing. There's so many ways to play it that you don't know which one might be the best at the end.
I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying, like a symbiotic relationship in that compound for a little while. The thing I look at it is that they got third in this game, and would they have probably have got third if they'd have stayed in that compound as well? Yeah, probably. Yeah. But would they have got first? Almost absolutely not. So I think that, you know, they were trying to go for it all, and obviously it didn't pan out.
Yeah, and again, trying to make those plays that are really important for them, considering Reject coming into this one from Group Green. So they only have, well, now 5 matches left to go. They have to get as many points as possible. They have to make sure that to make the right decisions, though, as we did look at a drop as well between Mad Bulls and Inco. And Mad Bulls, a team that it really doesn't matter for them, right? They're pretty much safe into the last chance. For Inco, though, at least them trying to scrape by as many points as possible. I think they got 3 with the eliminations. They're realizing, okay, well, this is not going to work out. Let's try to salvage with something. But they have to maybe look forward now to the next 5 matches.
Yeah, you don't forget the best part of that fight here, Jason. You just Raouf come in like, sit down. just get rid of them right away.
That was a good bit.
That was a good bit right there. But yeah, it's a hot drop. It is normally Inco that would have to change that drop because Mad Bulls, as you touched upon, Kalaris, during that game, are already so comfortable. It is currently their fight to win currently in that position. If they win it, they clear it for the last chance. And Inco, they're just going to be maybe completely out of that position from the get-go. So yeah, Inco, cool. It's fair enough. There's only 1 of these maps per day. But you might want to try and think of avoiding those as much as possible because it can really impact your results over only 2 days worth of play. That is such a small amount of time that these hot drops can really impact your position.
Yeah, it would be even especially more huge if there was more than 1 Sandhawk per day, right? But there's very little interest in giving up your position when you've done as well as you did like yesterday as Mad Bulls.
One thing I do want to mention really quickly, because you said it while we were watching the game, and I kind of really liked the idea of it. We did see Altigo change the drop location, as was mentioned already on the desk here. They went up towards Cow. But then when the zone started to shift away from Corey, more centralized, and they were on the east side of Corey, you were talking about what do they do here in this position. And Clarence, I wanted you to bring that up just really quickly.
Yeah, again, they're just playing really risky PUBG Mobile. Like going for these wide rotates, going up against Quarry, which is a very difficult place to transition away from. They have to bomb it through to try and make something happen. If they'd have come in from the north, it might have just been an easier time. But yeah, they did all right. But it's, again, very risky PUBG Mobile here.
Yeah. High risk, potentially high reward for Altigo, who desperately need every single point they possibly can in our final 5 matches. And it's time to head into our second match of the day, which is our first Erangel of the day with Jackie and Blake.
Ooh, the first of the 3 Erangels. This is good. This is always my favorite Porsche and Blanc because it feels like we start to get the more nuanced games, right? Where we can kind of expect the more unexpected. But this lobby's already looking kind of wild. So we'll see what we get, Blanc. We'll see what we get. We're in for some treats.
Yeah, I think that the guys on the desk touch on a really important point here is that for some of these teams, you know, specifically what Kalaris was talking about really interested me in the sense that, you know, Reject, they go for the game-winning play at the end of the day. And I think you have to do that now. You really do have to go for these sort of things because, honestly, for Group Green, we know that this is their last day of play to get in towards that survival stage, to not be in the bottom 8. And again, because you are the group that's playing the first 2 days in a row, you don't play the last day, you don't really know what marker you're aiming for, right? You don't know where that bullseye lies because no one is on that 16th position where it's just fixed, and you can think to yourself, we only need to get this amount of points to get in. So you have to push it to the max every single game, and I think that some teams are realizing, I would say too late at this point in time in Group Green, that they have to go for these game-winning moves. That had to come through yesterday. It absolutely had to come through yesterday. I think Mad Bulls took their fate into their own hands very quickly, as did Influence Rage, who have more than secured their position over towards the last chance phase. At this point, I think they have 77 points, something ridiculous at this point in time. So I think for some of these teams, maybe it's coming through too late. You need a little bit of luck today. You need to really hit your shots. You need to be making strong rotations and maybe, just maybe, able to bump those points up just enough. I think for Quest, that instant elimination at the start of the day there on Sandhawk versus a team that most people regard as not the greatest Sandhawk team will really knock their confidence in a big way. We know Quest made it in by the skin of their teeth, literally 1 point in Group Green to get towards that survival stage. I don't know if that sort of playstyle is going to cut it here, where a lot of teams, we're starting to cut down past the teams that you know, didn't get past the first group stage. They're now in the survival stage now where we have a lot of really, really strong teams. They won't just sit down and die like Tiamba did.
No, it's not going to be anywhere near as easy or as fine of a margin. I think that's the other part as well, is the fact that that was 1 point of difference. I would imagine it's going to be a little bit more of a stark contrast here. Well, imagine
I would have cried.
That would have been huge, man. Full John Rambo action to start off the day, but not going to happen. They will try and instigate the fight, though, to release as best as possible, whilst they know they're a little bit fragmented over in Alliance territory. So he's going to go breezing off, and Poser will join the rest of the squad, group up and see what they can get done. But yeah, it is very, I don't know, it's quite a curious way to start off the day, really, in terms of some of the teams that we saw playing well. It was a bit more unexpected for me. After what we saw from Gladiators, I was kind of starting to shift into that, you know, you don't believe in the Gladiators camp. But as soon as it feels like you hit that point on the meter, that's when they bounce back. I think they do it just to, like, spite everyone. And,
they tease us.
They do, man. They really want to kind of like rope you into the idea that it's not going to happen, and then, you know, they make all the fans book their tickets last minute to the finals. That's how that always goes. But we'll see if they can maintain pace, because it was a good game from them. But it's a key point that you hit on as well that I think is quite interesting, in the sense that the best they can do now is try and repeat that as much as possible today, because obviously they've left themselves with no other chances to accumulate points. So if you're leaving it up to another team to decide your fate, that's the rough part.
Losing Alva off the back as well. And I think this is something that's happened a few times now coming through from the boys on the squad. And I think that when you look at this, for Alter Ego, you just maybe drop trash around Mansion. Don't go for this 2-2 split between Lipovka as well as Mansion itself. It's not worth it. With the amount of teams that saw you yesterday get trounced by other squads, of course, NBE Sports is going to come down here and start to take some pot shots towards you. Mondo's coming in with the UAS, likely to clean this one up. The best Rosemary can do is send out some smokes, try and hit a couple of shots over with the DP, but I don't know, man.
No, this is looking pretty raw. It's like uncooked beef at this point, Blank. It is not what you want, mate. One by one, just getting finished off a little bit here for they've had such a rough couple days in terms of their opening drops. And again, you know, it does really feel like everyone's sort of passed the word around that Alter Ego is the easier team to bully on these drops, Blank. It just keeps happening.
Yeah. I mean, you make yourself an easy target and teams will want those points off from you. And you don't make those adjustments, it's not going to go well in future. Max Man, very astutely
the Max update.
Max update, from the Max Mansion itself. You know, Enigma Galaxy usually dropping towards Pachinki. The Xavier over in Group Green refused to give up Pachinki whatsoever. They kept dropping there every single time, even on hot drops. But this time around, they drop over towards Severny. They give it up. This is the first time they've never dropped there. And I think for the Xavier, this is actually a really, really important little tidbit to go off the top of, because I like this maneuver. You drop towards Pachinki versus Enigma Galaxy. You know this is a strong team, but right now, you're currently third place, 53 points. Consistency, it can be afforded now. So a Severny drop for DXavier when it's open, completely reasonable, I would say, to go for this team. They know they can get further into the map. They know that they're strong holding in that mid game and then trying to take out teams towards that late game as well, with a little bit of sweeping from the high grounds. So I think this is a really good move from DXavier, and again kind of feeds into that storyline, as if you made those points happen in that first day, you have a lot of room to switch up tactics, to switch up strategies. You know, if this is a case that DXavier would be on like 15, 19 points, they might have considered dropping over towards Pachinki and just trying to push it to the limit down there versus Enigma Galaxy, trying to win out on that hot drop and then going out from there, because those 4 eliminations would be very nice. And you can't really fear that fact of, what if we lose the hot drop? You just have to go and think to yourself, we're going to win this hot drop, we're going to move from there, we'll take that central position and give it some really good rotational paths into the late game. Everyone else in this lobby is just going to get trounced by us. You just have to think that you're a much larger team than you actually are.
Yeah, you've got to embody the stature, right? Make it, look like it's hard for you to fit through doorways, that kind of stuff. Build the confidence up by making yourself feel bigger than you are. And that was what they did. I mean, even back in Group Green, right? It was kind of them versus Bra was just like the battle of Pachinki every single time, Blank. And DX were willing to fight those down to the bitter end, limping away with one player left if they needed to, or even conceding basically an entire run on one of our games of Erangel just to guarantee that drop. So I like the fact that they've at least moved away from that here and kind of thought, all right, we really did risk it, back then. Now it's a little bit of a different kettle of fish. Let's not go for those sort of plays. So good to see the improvement there and the adjustment as well to be willing to even give up your normal confident drop. Man, drop is a word that is synonymous with Alter Ego at the minute, though, as every time we look towards the Elim feed, it feels like it's Rosemary that's just taking bullets from miles away. It's so unfortunate for AE for the way these games have been going. But again, here, they're just exposed. You've got a line of sight. MBE just keep putting the pressure on and Blank.
Yeah, I think for Alter Ego at this point in time, it's just not looking good, right? And I think we said this multiple times at this point. There had to be a change coming today. Kalaris gave some really good points. Some very risky rotations. I think this one in particular was a risky drop as well. I think you can go for risky drops where they provide you a bit more of an idea of actually getting further into the game. But when you're dropping over towards Mansion and then split dropping in Lipovka as well, and you know that Procedure dropped towards Yasnaya, MBE Sports drop around this location as well, you're sort of playing with fire at that point in time. There is just an opportunity to, look, give up on the scouting early on. We have a very good read on where most of these teams move in from, just from watching a lot of the other games that have happened throughout the group stage. Let's just go for a 4-man push over towards Lipovka. We'll split out. We'll try and sweep up towards the top side of Kameshki and move down from there. There's a lot of good little pit stops along the way on that side of the map. So for Alter Ego, again, a risky drop, which I don't think was particularly necessary here. The Xavier, kind of expected from them. Move up towards northern side, take the high ground control, and play off the back of that one. So I like this from DXavier indeed. Mad Bulls also find themselves on the northern side of Yasnaya. Very nice little quick rotate from them and a very hard shift over towards the eastern side, encompassing a lot of water in this one as well. So if teams want to get their feet wet, they certainly can if they want to live out this game a little bit longer. But for most teams, it's going to be either trying to sweep on this northern side or trying to hold towards some of these compounds on the edge. It's kind of a difficult position to play in. Some teams will be afforded some great spots early on if they were able to get here quick enough, but some teams on this outer edge will be struggling to find themselves a home.
Yeah, man, this is one that's setting up to potentially be a bit of a community swimming pool circle if it keeps up like this. About 40% water at the minute, so landmass really going to be important to lay claim to early. Try and set yourself up as quick as physically possible and don't leave it up to another squad to already claim all of the compounds. The mass migrations are coming through. You can see everyone starting to make their rotate down towards the zone, trying to get there as quick as physically possible. Bit of contact on some of the players that are playing slightly more defensive as well inside of the compounds, just listening out for where everyone's heading. Mad Bulls stopping for a quick pit adjustment. Meanwhile, we've got the pull-up from Alliance down towards the compound of Rejects, and that nade was tasty, Blank. That was a 3-pointer straight onto the head of OCO.
Yeah, certainly painful. In the meantime, Inco is getting picked up by Enigma Galaxy. That's on the south side right now. Both teams were rotating in, so some pretty decent shots, I assume, were being made from inside the vehicle itself. Very much a turret going through right now from Enigma Galaxy, all in one vehicle. Slightly dangerous, but it's worked out for them so far, with Inco taking one knock and a flush off the back of that. In the meantime, Malise Esports situate themselves all the way over towards Lipovka, try and keep themselves as safe as possible. Alter Ego regroup on the coastal side towards the east with 3 players, but surrounded by an N-Hyper as well as the Mad Bulls, who have picked up what I think is one of my favorite positions within the circus, a really nice ridge side that you can play from over on this eastern edge, and keeps you very clear. You do have to worry about some of the teams on the eastern side. See right now, Enigma Galaxy just cannot find anywhere to stay. And this is what I'm talking about. If you come out on the edge here, you are going to be driving around a lot. And it's even more terrifying the fact they're in one vehicle, which is exactly why they try and get into a second, but not before Coops is pulled out of it, and Freak will just have to leave off the back of that.
Man, it's so unlucky. You see the heads-up play there, trying to dash the smoke can before the drop, so it blooms to at least give him some sort of cover. But unfortunately, UDO Alliance had such a good angle, such a good line of sight onto that position that they've basically just been gifted a freebie. And the situation there worsens even more for them. So you're still driving around looking for a parking spot in a never-ending garage, and there will never be a parking spot, Blank, because everyone is already set up with guns, using these parking spots as compounds to play in.
Yeah, and they won't be leaving anytime soon, so you're not getting that middle space. I'm sorry about that. In the meantime, we do get a circle that moves down towards that south side, in which case Reject and UDO Alliance's compounds become very, very valuable indeed. So for UDO Alliance, currently they do have the strongest spot, which is up on high. Reject slightly safer in terms of the fact that they can just sort of sit in this compound for a while. You know that UDO Alliance, with them being in this compound, they're not likely to move anytime soon, so they don't want to expend too many grenades just sending them down over towards Reject. So Reject have this outpost which is guarded by UDO Alliance. Eventually they are likely gonna have to fight against one another, but both teams in this sort of mutual agreement at the moment.
Melise as well, hitting a nice shot across onto Freak and dropping the man. So the situation still just going from bad to worse, second after second, constantly taking damage and feeling uncomfortable, just playing out in the open, exposed to the elements at this point. Reject Tokyo firing off the warning shots, FaZe on the move as well. Round the side of the ridge, contact from inside of the building. Ifan spitting bullets at him, seeing if he can keep the pressure on. Mormon going to dash back with a couple of smokes as well, at least provide some protection. Koi's got the range on it, trying to debate whether or not he wants to engage on this one. If he can hit the shots with such a substantial drop, battle back as well. FaZe constantly just taking damage from either side now. A lot of HP being licked off them as well. So this could start getting a bit rough for FaZe, Blank, if they can't find a way to calm this one down.
Yeah, and Hyper has got so many angles on you. GK first over towards the shack right now. Shifan taking shots from inside the building. FaZe have sort of set themselves up in a pretty horrid scenario right now for themselves. Hyper looking to potentially regroup, but again, GK first comes in with another clutch shot over towards Mela, in which case they might just send towards this. The blue is pushing them in, and an opening knock like that is absolutely gorgeous for them.
First one's what you want. How many more are in store for them? Be a nice way to reality check FaZe straight away, man, off the back of their chicken dinner as well, if you could pull them down here.
I don't know why GK keeps going for these shots, to be honest. So greedy. Looking to finish off Melee. You can kind of understand why he's going for it, though. You don't want to let that player live. They are able to finally flush him out, but two players out in the blue right now, and FaZe currently have pretty good shooting angles over towards them. Koi luckily does find another on Mormon. He's so up close and personal, taking a lot of shots. There's not a lot of support coming through. Ventores understands that he too needs to get a move on, and quite quickly with the circle moving in. Very, very quick movements all around the block for Hyper, but this has been a sort of a crazy push from Hyper, locking both FaZe and them to their dooms. GK first even drops over there to the play zone itself. This has been a very, very odd fight. Gladiator is looking to maybe get themselves slightly involved. Shifan inside the building, and Hyper actually indeed go down. Mormon as well as Ventores might be able to continue, and that felt like one of the weirdest fights coming through from Hyper indeed. I didn't like that whatsoever. Felt like almost a guaranteed hold over towards its south side, just given up by some odd angles being taken.
Yeah, it really does feel like they've kind of both dragged themselves down. You know, we've no potential really successful outcome for either team in that situation. Very aggressive and very tunnel visioned in the way that they played it. So both squads basically being destroyed because of it. I mean, yeah, sure, FaZe still has presence at least, but hang on, hello, having a barrel roll straight into Matic. Okay,
Misery.
I guess FaZe were in fact just a present for Gladiators, Blank, because they've given them one additional point there and given us some nice showmanship in the vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, I think he realized it was over as soon as he started spinning out of control. Nice shots there from Meku. CJ Evos try and stop off to get a little bit of scouting done and realize actually quickly put some gas in it, change the gears as fast as please. Nice rotate from Prestigia Evos. They do get in front of the guys from Gladiators, which is probably not what Gladiators were hoping for. If they could have maybe got a little bit further ahead instead of being stopped off there by the random player from FaZe coming through, maybe they would have been in a better position where currently Prestigia Evos is though. But you look at the lay of land now, where we're currently playing over towards the south side. Most teams you can see situated on the southern side of the circle, right? Just because this is providing the most amount of cover, there is so much open ground to traverse through if you're coming up from this northern edge. So MBE Sports Gladiators got a bit of a weird rotation to make here. Gladiators could take the fight here versus Prestigia Evos and potentially move off from the back of it. But there's going to have to be some good nades, and Kitsune does not spot the player off towards his left.
Ooh, Kitsune engaging with the nades early, looking for the jump down. Nice. He was ready for that one, Blank. Instantly spots Redface and will leave him quite red in the face after that uppercut from the DBS. Zerich from absolutely miles away, looking to get involved with this fight where possible, scanning the hillside with his eyes and keeping a nice understanding of the situation. Meanwhile, here we see MBE starting to dive in an assault inside of the compound. Bullet after bullet, whizzing close by. Nasa now re-aggressing as well, looking to try and push their way back through. Spam up close. Fist Boy needs to land an uppercut. Not looking too good for him though, as he'll go down to the spray. How on earth is he still alive with a trickle of HP, Blank? It felt like he was trying to 1v4 that with nothing to his name.
I mean, Xenox did an incredible job there, but his quest coming in over towards Reject. They're holding on as best they can, and the crash is just not working out. Luther immediately gets inside. They want to keep hold of all four members here. They know they've got a strong position to be working with. Duello moves in, tries to clear out the player, but he gets a nice little sideswipe back in towards the door. Finally, it's over, as Tixi will pick up an elimination over towards Fahidan. But 6 eliminations for Gladiators. Once again, a pretty decent result for this squad. They'll have to push on through, potentially third partying down towards this position on Reject could be a good idea, but even Meku still putting on the hurt versus Inko, holding on whilst Kitsune scouts towards the western side of the circle. This is far, far better for Gladiators so far. You can tell the teamwork is here. Yesterday they just felt so disjointed.
Well, they're just fighting as well, Blank. I think that's the one big difference, right? Is we're seeing them play so confidently now where they're actually pulling up, looking like they're going into these engagements with the idea being to win them, with the idea being to get elims. Whereas yesterday, it felt a bit timid. It felt like they were playing inside of a box and kind of waiting for teams to come towards them. So I'm glad to see it. Definitely a much needed facelift for Gladiators, looking a lot more like the side that we like to see, at least. A lot of movement going on now as well. Bit of reshuffling. There's a ton of commotion down here. So everyone's kind of ringing the proverbial dinner bell, if you will. And it started to bait in the rotators, the mandem that want to pull up and try and squirrel away some of the points. So let's see if that'll be a potential outcome here. Roadside shenanigans for NBE. Meanwhile, Melise engaging on Alter Ego. That was big, Blank. Nice nade to open it up.
Yeah, an absolute chunky nade as well. Kisyu looks for another, sends it in, but Alter Ego is chucked away just for the time being. Smoke's been dropped down by Melise Esports. They don't want to get caught off on the side here. In the meantime, Becker on his lonesome trying to take down the rest of DX Xavier. Does find at least Levi's here, which is fairly impressive indeed. CEO later off in the wings, looking to see if he could spot any of the players here in Lipovka. Alter Ego, they drop in Lipovka itself. This is where they've resided for a very, very long time now, looking to potentially get a little bit more out of it. But Melise have them surrounded. Reject once again, surviving their position, will have to move forward. They know that U-Do Alliance are behind them.
U-Do, what can they do in a spot like this, playing on a hillside? Flax adjusting the crosshair, paranoid about the smoke expiring to his left, but wants to prioritize the correct angle, hoping they can get some shots off onto Reject. Once they expose themselves, they've got a three-pronged smoke wall blocking themselves at the minute, with the tree geometry providing a bit of cover as well. Slowly pushing their way up past the bushes now, as Lufa will jump in the rotate car. Oh, should have got info on that as well as he drove up. Seems like he knows he could be peeked from the ridge side. So we'll smoke that off and try and cover himself. Clark's up top, Blank. Man's got the DMR as well to work with potentially here. Seems like it's the shotgun also. Nice little DBS for close range engagements. And nades to boot. That could be a bit of a banger. Seems like it should be on target, but slightly off the mark.
Yeah, you really need an airburst here, but a nice shot comes through, and I think that's from MBE Sports actually over towards Udo Alliance. The Gladiators continue to lose members. Squash finally does go down off in the distance. And the circle does center up and confirm up towards Lepovka, so any team that made that decision early is happy about it. But look at this. Udo Alliance is losing members left and right, but the drop shot will at least keep them alive for a little bit longer, but the drop shot just ends up with them being dropped themselves. Udo Alliance out and Reject up to 5 eliminations. A very different face on this team, looking more Oni-esque today. Demonic coming through from Reject.
This is more what we wanted, right? You're raising hell a little bit now. They're getting stuck into the game, Blank, not playing as timid, fighting when necessary, trying to play towards center, contesting for edge control when needed. It's better from Reject, but they've got to maintain that, keep that course going. Don't let it drop off now, as they do at least find their way through the test of Udo and control that one. NBE keep popping up all over the shop. It feels like NBE have just been running back and forth, trying to stay alive from this roadside, having little moments of chip damage onto anyone that peeks into them. They're still here for now, just in front of Rejects. They're exposed if they go for a bit of a push. They're just using the smokes to hold themselves for now, but Zara is engaging with it. It's a nice first nade. Got the lineup on the second as well, Blank. The nades alone could be enough to deal with them.
Man, the long arm on Sarah is looking good, but nasty shots coming in from Nakaze through the smoke, takes down a fair few of them. Now Duello left to challenge versus Nakaze off in the distance. Nice shot on the edge, but quickly cleans them all up. And what a clean finish there from Nakaze at the end. It looked like it was all done and dusted for the squad, but fantastically well held out by Nakaze. Gladiators still at 4 players alive, but one of the final teams to be on this northern edge alongside them and NBE Sports. Mad Bulls up to 5 eliminations, Gladiators up to 8. They're doing good here. You asked about a bit of a repeat. We even heard about the dinner bell, and so far Gladiators have been hitting us with some nice mashed rotators at the moment. These rotates have been clean.
Whatever they're cooking up today, Blank, it looks like it is fresh, not frozen. Nothing being reused here. Ooh, turning up the heat, though, as the kitchen metaphor continues. Have to get out of that one. Melise set ablaze, couldn't handle it. Kiss You dropped, as the M4 will give him the damage. Business being done. Mad Bulls close by as well. They can start to breach and clear. Take the players out that are inside of these buildings now, but Frozen crumbles. He cracks under the pressure on the contact, and it's all getting a little bit sheepish. Constant damage being fired out by Gladiators, sure, but no one wanting to make the first mistake. You have such a sheer number of squads all close, shoulder to shoulder inside of these compounds, with only Gladiators being able to complete the push down towards the beach side. They're in a pretty dream spot right now, and it's going to be so much harder for this heat map of teams we can see all on top of each other inside of the neighborhood. A nasty neighborhood, Blank. They're not friendly neighbors.
Not at all. Everyone's just leaving some horrid messages on one another's doors right now. People just aren't picking up the newspaper. They're turning the Amazon delivery guy away. They will not be handing that through the post box to their next door neighbor at all. But for Gladiators, what an incredible circle for them. Moves up towards this north side, and they've had direct contact with a lot of these teams on the southern edge. What's great about this rotate from Gladiators as well is that they forced out the Mad Bulls from this position just with sheer sheer firepower. Up to 9 eliminations, set 50 points after the back of this game, just around about 18 points behind Mad Bulls, who we know had a great day yesterday. This has been very, very good stuff from the Gladiators. And again, it's that pressure off in that first game that allows you to succeed later on. They're moving in over towards MBE Sports. Sec, barely any HP. The vehicle flies over the top and Tixie's there on a Kaze. He's quickly put down and MBE Sports is out. Oh my goodness me, Gladiators are fighting.
What are we watching, Blank? Is this a Michael Bay movie? Because that was a blockbuster. They come flying through the air, hit the griddy on that one as the shot connects mid-movement. And then they just continue on as well. This is ridiculous. Meku and Kitsune just putting bullets down range, Blank. They are farming.
This was a great move from Meku as well, mate. They left him behind on the side swipe just in case anyone was between the trees. Likely Meku's going to be a sacrifice in this situation, but he's got great lines of sight over towards Duxan, providing very, very difficult terrain for Duxan to deal with. They step out of the way of the bullets from Kitsune as well as Tixie and Matic. They step directly into the bullets from Meku, who's very much safe on this outer edge. Luckily, Zipian is able to get some shots back over towards Kitsune, but it's just Meku and Tixie lighting them up.
They're the Hydra right now, Blank. It feels like if you sever one head, 2 more will grow back in its place. That's what Gladiators are doing right now. A single knock results in them finding 2 elims, or the elims could keep on coming as well, but maybe it'll go in favor of Mad Bulls as Alter Ego wanted to try an ego challenge, but they go down quick. They've got cinder block shoes on that one as Melise third party and Mad Bulls hold on to their compound. Gladiators, though, still showing that they're handy with the sharpened steel, slicing their way through anyone that peeks into them. Now just pushing up the road to close down these and make sure these eliminations are theirs for good, Blank.
Yeah, Tixie flies over towards that position, has the M4 in hand. Lovely nade over the top as well. Finds Hoxie. Now just Binny in the back here. Another nade flies over the top. Nice little Molotov. Will shoot underneath the vehicle. Has eyes on. Just needs to hit these shots now, but is sort of being cut off by the fire, by the smoke. Stands up to try and hit this one. The step out is there and Tixie gets taken down. Meku left remaining for the squad, but honestly, with the amount of damage the Gladiators been able to do, they've just been looking for those eliminations. We talked about this early on as well, Jackie, in the sense that eliminations desperately what you need. This is what you can confirm in these games. This is what you know you can handle, and I appreciate that they're just fighting for them.
Exactly. It's the one part that you can control just by playing aggressive, playing confidently, and guaranteeing those eliminations. And that's what they've done. They've played for the elims here. Now they can try and see what they can squeeze out in terms of placement, because the other teams are doing the infighting for them. And it's whittled us down to only 2 players. Really, you've got to worry about. Oh, man. Mad Bulls licking their lips at the prospect of this one. They do find Meku. He's exposed himself from behind the rock. Now it's simple pickings. As long as Mad Bulls could reset, you do have an edge. The battle of attrition is in your camp. They're setting themselves up for a chicken dinner, but Zerich will expire.
For Duxan, this is going to be a very, very important game for them. You know, 3 eliminations, it's not ideal. You go out this with a second place, 6 points, 9 points total. It doesn't feel great, but if you're able to get your chicken dinner off the back of this in a 2v3, you know, 13 points on this match feels really decent coming into the rest of the day. And with the blue pushing in, it is very, very ideal for them, but the Mad Bulls just look so absolutely clean today. They looked at yesterday as well, and they pick themselves up yet another chicken dinner. That is 3 in the space of 2 days.
That's huge from Mad Bulls. A complete change of pace from what we were seeing from them, looking an awful lot better. And also now, Blank, it goes back to our point about the fact that you don't want to leave it up to another team to decide your fate in the survival stage. You want to make as many points as possible in the limited number of games you have to play. And that's what Mad Bulls are doing in droves.
Yeah, it's a stressful game for Mad Bulls as well. Not an easy one. You can see that they're not super excited about this because it's more of a relief than anything they're able to pull off that chicken dinner. Playing within Lipovka, there was so much infighting in that area, getting forced out by the Gladiators. I think it was a very wise move for them to actually just send across from the rock side in the water towards those buildings. Yes, they had to fight for it versus Malise Esports, but they were confident to do that, and it sort of gave them that winning position. I think things got dicey as soon as they started to see the circle move towards the north side. Like, have we made a mistake? Did we make the right call here? But you just got to follow through. 44,000 kilometers travel for Gladiators once again. These rotates are coming through quicker. They're more confident with them. I don't know what happened between the space of yesterday and today, but there has been some serious conversations between these lads on the team.
Something's happened, you know. I don't know if it happened at the hotel breakfast or where it was, but it seems like Gladiators have got their heads screwed back on, and they're playing some really nice PUBG Mobile today, Blank. You know, this is exactly what we wanted to see in terms of them giving us a good game, showing us they deserve the invite in the first place and that they're able to make some moves here. What more will be in store for us though, and can they keep it up? We'll find out. Let's get back to the desk with the #1 Gladiators fan. It's Jason Kaplan.
Sorry, I think Jackie mixspoke there. Mixspoke. That's the #1 Gladiator fan ever. But we have to say, it wouldn't be Gladiators if they didn't show up exactly when they needed to kind of advance on through in an event. And hey, you know, credit to them, another massive game for them in terms of eliminations, great positioning as well. They were able to crash an NBA Esports and kind of do the exact same thing, just the other way around from the prior match. But also, Mad Bulls, man, like, there's so many things to talk about. Oh, you know what? We're not gonna talk. No, let's do it. Maxman talked about Gladiators, and then we'll hop to what I have ready for Colaris.
Okay, Jason McSpoke. But okay, Gladiators. I didn't want to talk about them because I didn't want to curse them, Jason. Okay, that was the reason behind it. Now I see. Okay, but right now, Gladiators, of course, playing that high ground position, able to leapfrog in the position that Mad Bulls left open after they regrouped from that 2-2 split was a really good spot. And also, one thing I enjoyed, Colaris, from Gladiators is they tried to go for that high ground on the road. They tried to fight Best. They tried to also fight Duck Sandwich. Ended up not working out, but I think that if you're not in the city, you want to avoid a lot of that fight happening in Lipovka. Going for that high ground does give you a bit of an advantage. It didn't quite work out because Duck Sand had such a good angle, but I think that was going to be a game-winning play if they could survive until the later stage.
Honestly, yeah, go on.
Ahead. No, you go on.
I was going doolally in this game, if I'm honest, Jason. I was going crazy because how often do you see a basically close to Lipovka end like this? And for teams to try and manage their way through that, as you say, with Gladiators doing really well in terms of the eliminations and then going to the west for the rotate to try and make this work. Never mind, Mad Bulls winning off a 2-2 split across the rocks of north of Lipovka and in Lipovka. Where do you begin? There's so much to talk about.
Well, obviously the smoke wall that Maxman brought up while we saw Mad Bulls able to transition with the PO smoke wall, as he coined it, to get through safely was something to be seen. But if we're talking about how teams got into Lipovka, let's also mention Alter Ego, Colaris.
Oh.
Do it! Come on.
What are they doing? All right.
You got really close to the mic there.
I got really close to the mic. Okay, they're the Lipovka dropping team. Where were they? They moved west, right? They lost one to heaven as they were walking through to heaven, which is ridiculous. And then they moved north, and then they have to swim all the way back to Lipovka. They are lost at present. They are taking, I said it before this game, constantly taking risks here in PUBG Mobile. They're playing a very risky style. They've got splits. They're walking where they shouldn't be, going where they shouldn't be. And eventually, yes, they salvaged this, but only because teams that had track of them swimming probably was Pasija, but they got kind of rocked up on Gladiators and kind of lost in the mix. So they were allowed to come back up on the shore of Lipovka. Am I taking crazy pills? Anyway, yeah,
lost him.
I'm done.
Well, not to mention, you also pointed out, too, when we were watching, that Gladiators is probably the only team that could see them rock up on the beach, but they were about at that 400-meter distance mark away, so potentially not seeing them. Obviously, Malise was in Lipovka, potentially not looking towards them, and we even saw Kissu like, wait, what are you guys doing in that building? How did you guys even get here?
Yeah.
He's going mad. I've never seen him like this.
Malise was like, who is he? What's going on next door? And suddenly, they were just... Anyway, I'm done.
You know what, Colaris? You need to cool down by playing some of the Frost Festival currently going on within PUBG Mobile. You can revel in the exhilaration of gliding down the slopes in a snowboard and using snow mounts like X-Men talked about yesterday, potentially turning people into snowmen as well. Make sure you guys load up PUBG Mobile, download the new update, and participate and play. Because also while you're playing, we do have the 2023 Popularity Annual Gala happening with PUBG Mobile introducing a brand new competition, exclusive honorable rewards for you guys at home to participate and win. It's all kicking off between November 15th and December 15th, so make sure you guys are getting into the game and potentially able to win some rewards you can show off to your friends. Also, while you're playing in this one, don't forget about the Pagani collaboration happening within PUBG Mobile as well. You can rev the engine with the iconic Pagani Amola and Zonda R models, which I believe. Klars, are you ready to be salesman yet again? Tell us the features.
740 brake horsepower. You got a V12 engine as well as 710 Newton meters of torque, Jason. It's a car for you, but it's very expensive in real life.
Well, my question is, can I fit in the car? Because we all know I'm extremely tall.
Probably you cannot, actually. You're probably too tall.
Okay, well, that's a shame. Maybe we can get special order one and make one for me. And also, last but not least, before we head to a break here, the new RPA4 Victory Dance, which is available now. You guys can show off your victories with the PMGC vibe, and also use your Victory Dance to cheer for your favorite PUBG Mobile team. And we all know who people are voting for. Max is all aboard the Gladiator train, but we have to wait till that train takes off after the side of a short break. Well, Max, I know how you are the biggest fan of Gladiators, but luckily for you, we don't have to talk about them too much more because it looks like with the points they've gotten these last two matches alone, that should almost guarantee them a safe position into our last chance. However, it does get easier from there. Keep in mind, it's only 16 teams advancing from this into that, and it's only 5 teams advancing from the last chance to get back into the PMGC Grand Final. So a lot of work to come for the Gladiators and obviously a lot of other teams out there. But as we are about to head into our second air angle, my question is this. Klars, Alter Ego, are we going to see a word rotation again?
Maybe. I think it depends on the playing path. I think they're probably going to... If the playing path doesn't favor Lipovka, I think they're going to try and go for cars and maybe fight someone. We'll see.
Okay. Well, thank you for your contribution here, Max. Ben, we're going to head over to our commentators to kick off our second arrow of the day, Jackie and Blake.
It's interesting because Max always just makes such thought-provoking points, Blank. It feels hard to kind of, even regurgitate what he said, as it's just so big-brained.
Yeah, you can't quite, grasp it a lot of times, and you do need to watch it back a few times afterwards and just really get the notes in there, understand what's going on. But I'll have to do that after the show, I think, as well, really.
Well, it was a big segment. It was a big segment.
Yeah.
We don't have time right now to... I'd have to get out the notepad.
We can't break it down.
Highlighters.
Yeah.
No, it's just not possible. It's just not possible. But obviously, Jason just said Gladiators will win, so I get where he's coming from.
Yeah. That was very clear that Jason said that Gladiators would win again. It's definitely going to be a Gladiators first place chicken dinner on this one. I think they're just playing out of their minds right now. I don't know what's gotten into them. What's quite frustrating about this, though, is that they're getting some flashbacks to last year a little bit, where they made it past the survival stage into last chance and then got pipped at the post over towards 5th place. And I don't want all the thunder to come now. I would quite like some of it to be reserved, keep a little bit of that lightning in a bottle for the last chance phase. But again, they've just started stepping up now. I don't know what I'm talking about, really. Keep going, I guess, for the time being.
I do like the idea that you've gone, okay, well, look, you're doing pretty well right now. let's slow that down.
Slow it down.
Look, you know, if you get too big for your boots and set the bar too high, you're not going to make it there again. And they're like, this is interesting. You are right.
The thing is, we have such an intimate relationship with this team because we commentate them all the time right over in EU. So we sort of know their tendencies. They can be a frustrating squad to watch a lot of times. But there are a lot of
confusing.
Yeah, it is confusing. There are a lot of other great teams in this lobby so far at the moment. I mean, Reject have certainly started to pump things up just a little bit. I don't think we're quite at Reject levels of Group Green so far, but we're definitely getting there. And I mean, it all came from that simple interview that Sarah gave, which was literally the most base thing he could have done, which was, yeah, we're not going center enough. And then they went center and won a bunch of games. They're doing that again here. It seems to be working reasonably well too. So I think that they've just kind of shedded that mentality of like, it's not going too hot for us right now. Let's just go center. We'll just play our game and see what happens. And I think that's what a lot of teams are starting to do now, which is really, really good to see. You have to get out your own head here, especially if anyone who's in Group Green right now in this last chance scenario. You just have to play out these matches. I was going to touch on Alter Ego. I'm not gonna, and it's tainted, unfortunately. I would have loved to have seen that team do a lot better, but we'll wait. We'll wait and see.
We'll see how things lie at the end, right? Because I think we've kind of beaten the horse on that one, really, in the way the games.
They're already being beaten.
That's what I mean, but it's just not worth it. But it is a shame. I do agree with you in that sense, where it feels like, especially for sort of the storyline and the narrative as well, with like the interview we had with Rosemary way back on, I believe, day one of the entire event, and how they were looking like they were playing. I was expecting a landfall for them, Blank. I was expecting it to go well and for them to go from strength to strength. But they were definitely struggling today. What have they got up the chops? Anything hidden? Anything else? Maybe we'll see. If it's going to come out, this is probably the best time to do it, right? You're kind of leaving yourself with very limited chances. We've got 3 games, this Erangel and then 2 Miramars, and basically preceding that, that's the end for you to actually accumulate any points. You're just leaving it in the hands of other teams. So we'll find out. We'll see where we're going with it. Mad Bull's been looking a lot better, though, Blank. It's been fun to watch Mad Bulls, which is nice to say. Even if they don't look exactly ecstatic every time we see him on camera. Tulicker, honestly, didn't look too pleased with his win. But I think that was mostly just like stress and relief of going, okay, we needed it. At least we have a win. If they can just keep that up, that's probably the ideal scenario. But they need to drop that stress. They did seem a bit on edge.
Yeah, come on. We need to get the team masseuse in, right? Massage those worries away. Because right now, I do think they should be a little bit more elated than they actually are. I know that sounds crazy. I have just said in a different manner, be happier, which isn't always as easy as it sounds a lot of times, as we know. And I think for Mad Bulls, realistically, they're doing really well. And I think they should be proud of themselves so far. I think they also understand that they need to keep a little bit of lightning in the bottle saved away for that last chance phase. Right now, I think they should be very pleased with where they've placed. They're currently in first. Obviously, Influence Rage still has another day to play. And I think, all things considered, by the end of it, Influence Rage will be on top in terms of the standings. But Mad Bulls certainly done more than enough to secure their position at this point. The rest of these games now, for them, it should just be study, right? Maintain this kind of play style, maintain this kind of pressure on the rest of the squads, because more than likely you are going to have to play against quite a few of these teams again in the last chance. So the more they can stake their claim on positions around the map, the more they can stake their claim on these rotations and be a team that some of these other squads may be a little bit scared to run into. You do have that small advantage in the last chance where you have that kind of don't mess with me factor.
Don't mess with me. God, it's like a late night walk home, Blank. And you're like, well, I do not want to mess with that man. I mean, that's a good vibe to give off, It definitely would increase your protection a bit.
It's true, yeah. I mean, I just say it to myself as I'm walking down the street sometimes. That's how it works.
Don't mess with me.
Don't mess with me. People are like,
the idea
Daddy,
of
that
you-
guy's talking to himself.
That's what I mean. Just muttering under your breath. Don't mess with me, mate. Don't mess with me.
Yeah.
People just walking by. Excuse me, sir. Do you need help? Don't mess with me.
Mess with
All
me.
right.
Yeah, it's less that I'm giving off hard man vibes and more that I'm giving off that I need to be in an asylum vibes, which isn't ideal, but it seems to work.
Hey, look, to each their own, Blank. You know, unorthodox strategies do seem to work best. If your enemy can't prepare for it, you know, how can you? I suppose.
Yeah.
In some way, that's a
He's
sentence.
done a 720 kickflip roundhouse. Oh my lord!
Oh,
Let's see
oh my
that
God.
coming. The standard is a 360.
Yeah, this is wild. Look at the man doing ollies in the car.
That's illegal. But
Right, put the skateboards down.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
we need to get back in the game here, and some of these teams definitely need to get a rolling. Certainly towards that bottom side of the lobby, we're looking at N-Hyper, Udo Alliance. Nick McGalaxy sort of are disappointing us so far, I would say. And I mean, they're on our screens right now. Ragey Ocio will take down Lord from Nick McGalaxy. And again, they keep just hemorrhaging members, I would say, on their rotates. You know what? I didn't actually get to talk about this last game, but I will talk about it now, is that some of their rotates feel extremely greedy. I think that last match, most of the teams on that south side realized that, look, if we're on the edge already, I mean, they were rotating in from, what was it, Milta. They were battling out versus Inco early on. I think in that case, you just have to slow push your way in towards the circle. You're potentially not going to get a high placing off the back of this, but they could have easily taken up where Duxan was playing. Remember, Duxan got themselves a second place. Decent, good stuff. Yet they just drove around in that one vehicle, dropped out for a second one, lost Coops in the process, kept driving around to try and find another central position. And I think at that point, you just have to realize that this is not working out. Teams aren't just going to let you free roam anymore.
No, it did feel like one of those where, you know, you're kind of thinking, you've thrown that away a little bit. You know, you did have a potential to try and see what you could actually get out of the game. Whereas instead, I agree with you, the rotation was a little bit careless, and potentially even just the idea to jump out at that point. You know, you're only going to delay yourself even more in terms of like the startup time for the vehicle to actually get away, right? And it just meant they went from a 4, stuck in a very small camper van, to a 3, still sharing just the one small camper van. Wasn't ideal. A couple of pot shots been going out here, though. We've seen a little bit of damage coming across. Mad Balls have suffered 1 knock as well, so at least they're seeing what they can do to patch up the situation. Here's one for you as well, Blank. When we saw that first knock, it was Raging OCO in the car, and he bonneted someone. Call that Road Rage OCO.
Oh, yes. I like that. Yeah, go on. We love to see it. He was doing an ollie in the car over his head. It was good stuff. We enjoyed it. We love to see it. For Reject, not quite towards the central right now, but a single elimination, that'll do the trick. They'll be happy, pleased with that one. DX Xavier also pretty pleased. Their position up towards Severny, right? You know, they don't drop Pachinki, but they get themselves a fairly good position to work their way out from. They've got a lot of positions they're currently holding on to. Now, DX Xavier, typical rotational path up towards this northeast side. So for them, again, we'll be going for something like that. Gladiators are just cutting straight through them, though. A bit of a dangerous push, I would say. I mean, you still have Tixie and Matic on the backside here with Kitsune and Meku going for this scout early on. You can see them starting to get a little bit squeezed here by the hydraulic press of teams, and the rest of the squad just is nowhere near to support. This is a greedy rotate, and I think for anyone in this location, I would be trying to spot out some of these stragglers, trying to take pot shots towards them as they move through. Again, Ralph out of the vehicle, taken down by Nasa. This is very bad news bears right now for Nick McGalaxy, and I think this is something that we sort of saw over towards their group stage as well, as that at the start, doing great. You know, happy days for Nick McGalaxy. Some strong rotations were coming through for this team. However, when you looked at them further in towards the group, their rotations were getting read so easily, time and time again. I think that's the final player from Enigma Galaxy about to go down soon, but Reject taking a lot of knocks of their own. Gladiators barely surviving themselves, good amount of damage. Meku's on the side, Swan tries to swing out, lovely nade, will take down Meku, and now it's just Matic to try and hold down the door.
Well, that's a nice trade, actually. And he's played it smart. He set himself up so that he could try and nade. I thought he was going to get the first off onto Meku with it, but instead engages towards Matic. Matic's basically as good as gone here. No HP, nothing to defend himself with. All off the back of Cluck's nades there. So nice retake on the compound. That was smart in the way he used his utility. And that's unlucky for the Gladiators. So Jason Kaplan's prediction there not coming true, Blank, because they've gone down without a single elim on that one. Got a bit too big for their boots.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But they've slowed it down, as I asked them to. Well done. You know, this is more the Gladiators we're used to. You know, going down in the first 2 stages. That's great. Brilliant. Now, do something a little bit more next game. Maybe revert back to, you know, making not the greatest rotations. To be fair, that wasn't bad by any stretch of the word. I quite liked it. Unfortunately for them, I think you make that rotation a little bit too late. You've got players that are not quite on with the vibe there in the backside with Matic and Tixi, who are not up front and personal with Kitsune and Meku. And you just get shot at by teams on the side trying to get in towards that warehouse that UDO Alliance, quite frankly, had already had a lot of control over. Could have gone a different way if Meku maybe had found that second shot, but like you said, some great nades coming out from Cluck there on UDO Alliance. In the meantime, let's have a look at where some of these other teams are playing. MBE Sports up towards that northeast side. Not a huge amount of points found, but they're consistently in the game, right? And I think that's something that's great to see so far on that side.
Yeah, they've been making a lot of cameo appearances, you know, even in situations where it's just 1 or 2 elims and they stay alive. It feels that they're always popping up to be a little bit annoying, nip at teams' heels and try and farm the odd points here and there. This is one that feels like it's just a matter of, you know, the chase at the minute. Feels like you're being forced further and further back, and Rejects know they're being hunted on this one, trying to play with at least some map geometry to give them cover, as NASA are definitely roaming quite far out and looking to gain a good understanding of where everyone is stationed, using the reconnaissance of Xenox here with the one vehicle as a bit of a scout, and then having a backup position to fall back towards. Freak's actually still alive as well, Blank. All right, yeah, so that's just the one man that remained. I mean, his entire team basically got picked to pieces instantly. So I suppose it's best case scenario, how far can he go, right? Because looking at a placement game with this one, it's pretty early. Going to be a while on the stopwatch before we come back to that point.
Yeah, I do think it definitely comes back to that case of Enigma Galaxy. A lot of their rotations getting read into towards the end of their group and not making too many adjustments off the back.